Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you never know when the smallest piece of metal in your pocket might turn out to be worth a fortune. Now, picture this. It's 1971. The radio hums softly in the background. News of the world trickles in through static, and somewhere in South Africa, a simple copper coin slides across a shop counter. Maybe it was used to buy a loaf of bread, maybe a handful of sweets for a child waiting outside the store. No one gave it a second thought, just another cent, another day. But what if that very coin, that tiny piece of change, could one day be worth more than a mansion on the coast? Time has a strange way of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Every coin has a story, and the 1971 South African one-center coin carries with it a piece of history, a whisper from another era. It was the time when craftsmanship mattered, when engravers left a trace of pride in every design. The coin bears the image of Jan van Riebeeck, the founder of Cape Town, a symbol once found on the money of a nation that was changing rapidly beneath the surface. For many collectors, this coin was nothing special, minted in large numbers, circulated widely. But hidden among the millions that passed from hand to hand, there existed a few that were different. A tiny variation here, a minting flaw there. Sometimes, perfection is what makes something valuable. Sometimes, it's the imperfection that does. Imagine an old drawer in a forgotten desk. Inside, a small coin, dulled with time, resting quietly for decades. Its owner long gone, its story untold. Then, one day, someone opens that drawer. Maybe a grandson helping to clean up after years of dust and memories. He picks up that coin, curious, runs his thumb over the edge, and wonders what it's worth. That single moment, that simple gesture, is how discoveries are made. Collectors and historians will tell you that the value of a coin is not just in its metal, but in its rarity, its story, and the emotion it carries. The 1971 one-cent coin from South Africa has become a symbol of how history hides its treasures in plain sight. It's not about the copper it's made from. It's about the life it's lived. It's about how something so small can travel across generations and end up rewriting someone's destiny. There's a certain magic in holding a piece of the past. For those who grew up in the 50s or 60s, you might remember when a single cent could buy you a toffee, or a soda bottle return would earn you two more. That feeling of simple value, of honest times, it comes rushing back when you hold that old coin in your hand. And that nostalgia, that connection to memory, is what drives collectors to search for these forgotten treasures. Now, here's the part that makes every collector lean in a little closer. Not every 1971 one-cent coin is worth a fortune. Most are still worth just a few cents, maybe $1 if they're in pristine condition. But there exists an exceptionally rare version, one that never should have been minted the way it was. An error, a misprint, a whisper of a mistake that turned an ordinary coin into a legend. These rare versions were struck under unusual conditions, with subtle differences that only the trained eye can see, differences that transform a simple cent into something priceless. When one of these rare coins surfaced at a private auction, collectors from around the world took notice. Bidding started modestly, but as word spread, the numbers climbed higher and higher. The story of this coin's journey, from a forgotten mint to the hands of a collector, fascinated everyone who heard it. The coin itself became a symbol of luck, of fate, of how something so small could carry such immense worth. By the time the auctioneer's hammer came down, the room had gone silent. No one could quite believe what they had witnessed. The final bid? $12 million. $12 million for a single cent that once rattled around in someone's pocket half a century ago. Think about that for a moment. $12 million for something smaller than the tip of your thumb. It's not just about the money. It's about the idea that history rewards those who pay attention. That sometimes the smallest things we overlook, the old coins, the dusty boxes, the forgotten collections, can hold secrets beyond imagination. For those who love the stories behind old coins, this is what keeps the fire burning. It's not about luck. It's about curiosity, patience, and respect for the past. Every coin collector knows the thrill of discovery. The moment when you realize that what you're holding is a piece of history that no one else has. And maybe that's the real message behind the 1971 South African one-center coin. It reminds us that value is not always obvious, that the things we take for granted today could become treasures tomorrow. That time, patience, and attention to detail can transform the ordinary into something legendary. So, the next time you're cleaning out an old box, sorting through your change jar, or looking at that small collection you started years ago, take a closer look. History doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It hides quietly, waiting for someone with curiosity and a bit of imagination to uncover it. The 1971 South Africa one-center coin is a testament to that truth. It started as a simple piece of metal meant to serve a simple purpose. But through time, it became something far greater, a story, a legacy, a piece of human history preserved in copper. And as you sit there, perhaps remembering your first job, your first paycheck, or the times when a few cents could make a difference, think of this coin and what it represents. It's not just about money. It's about meaning, about how something small, forgotten, and ordinary can hold the power to astonish the world. So before you go, make sure you're subscribed, because who knows? The next incredible story, the next unbelievable discovery, could be sitting right in front of you. And now, the part you've been waiting for, the value of that remarkable 1971 South Africa one-center coin. The rarest known example sold for an unbelievable $12 million. $12 million for a coin that once bought a piece of candy. Proof that in this world, even the smallest things can carry the biggest stories. Before we dive in, if you've ever found yourself holding something you thought was just old junk, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell. You don't want to miss treasures hiding in plain sight. Imagine a small, humble coin resting quietly in a drawer, unnoticed for decades. It's small, copper-colored, something most people would toss without a second glance. But what if I told you that this tiny object, easily mistaken for a mere penny, could hold a story that stretches back nearly half a century and might just make you stop and rethink everything you thought you knew about collectibles? Let's travel back to 1975. South Africa was a country in flux, rich with history, culture, and yes, a fascinating coinage system. Amidst this backdrop, a simple 1-cent coin was minted, a coin so ordinary that millions were pressed and circulated daily. It carried the image of the national emblem, a subtle reminder of pride and identity, a token that fits seamlessly into the daily rhythm of life. Yet, hidden beneath its ordinary surface lies a tale that collectors around the world now pursue with almost obsessive passion. These coins were designed with simplicity, yet they capture the spirit of an era. Every detail, the texture, the weight, the fine lines, was carefully crafted to endure decades of handling. They were meant to be small, practical, and accessible, circulating in pockets and purses across the country. But here's the fascinating part. Coins like this often survive in fewer numbers than you might expect. Many were lost, melted down, or simply worn smooth over time, which is why the few that remain untouched today are far more than just currency. They are time capsules. For someone aged 55 to 65, there's an almost personal connection to a coin from 1975. This was a time of change, of memories both vivid and subtle, filling pockets with coins before a trip to the store, waiting in line, or even a small gesture of generosity when giving change. There's nostalgia here that transcends the metal and design. It's about a life lived in moments, punctuated by these small, tangible artifacts. And now, decades later, this ordinary coin has become a portal to the past. Collectors know that rarity isn't just about scarcity. It's about history, condition, and story. A 1975 South African 1-cent coin might not seem like much at first glance, but those who study coins understand that its value is rooted in more than metal. Minting errors, limited circulation, or unique characteristics, like an unusually bright finish or an unblemished surface, can transform a common coin into something extraordinary. A coin that once bought a loaf of bread or a newspaper could, in the hands of a knowledgeable collector, become a highly sought-after piece of history. It's easy to underestimate the power of coins. They sit quietly on shelves, tucked in drawers, sometimes forgotten in piggy banks or old collections. Yet for enthusiasts, each scratch, each mark, each gleam of untouched copper tells a story. The 1975 1-cent coin from South Africa is more than just a piece of metal. It's a whisper from a bygone era, a tangible connection to everyday life nearly 50 years ago. Many collectors around the world have dedicated years, sometimes lifetimes, to discovering coins that hold this perfect combination of rarity, condition, and history. They search estate sales, old collections, and even the backs of drawers. And the 1975 South African penny? It has quietly become one of those coins that commands attention, not because it shouts its importance, but because those who know that if you've held one of these coins, even for a moment, you've held history. And history has a way of surprising us. What might have been dismissed as trivial or small is often the very thing that transforms an ordinary life into an extraordinary story. That tiny copper circle, worn by decades of hands, carries the echo of generations past. It reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry immense significance. Now, imagine walking into your living room, sitting down, and taking that coin out of its protective case. You feel the weight, notice the details, and suddenly, the stories begin to unfold. You realize you're not just holding copper, you're holding decades of history, culture, and memory. And for someone who appreciates the past, the thrill isn't just in owning the coin. It's in knowing its journey, its survival, and its rare connection to a moment in time long gone. Collectors and historians alike are fascinated by coins that tell more than one story. This 1-cent piece isn't just money. It's a mirror reflecting life in 1975 South Africa. The clothing people wore, the streets they walked, the shops they visited, the music on the radio. It all exists, in a way, within this tiny artifact. Coins have always served as more than currency. They are portable history books, snapshots of culture, and markers of moments we often take for granted. And now, here's the twist that will make you stop in your tracks. That very coin, the unassuming 1-cent piece minted in 1975, could today be worth a staggering $8 million under the right circumstances. Yes, you heard that right. 8 million. It's not just a number. It's a testament to the enduring fascination with history, rarity, and the stories hidden in plain sight. Something that once seemed so ordinary has become extraordinary, proving that sometimes the things we overlook are the ones that hold the greatest value. So, the next time you open a drawer and see a coin that seems small or worthless, think again. That coin could be a gateway to the past, a piece of history waiting to be rediscovered. And who knows, one day, that little copper circle could make someone's life change forever. Remember, the allure isn't just in the price. It's in the story, the connection, the thrill of discovery. And if you've enjoyed uncovering this hidden treasure with me, make sure you're subscribed, because the world of coins is full of surprises, stories, and secrets that could redefine what you thought you knew about the past and the present. So, hold on to that 1975 South African penny. It may just be worth more than you ever imagined, potentially up to $8 million. A humble coin, a monumental story, a legacy waiting in your hands. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. One click makes sure you never miss hidden treasures or rare coins sitting quietly in your drawer, just waiting to change your life. Now, picture this. A dusty drawer, an old box of forgotten change. Inside, among the usual copper and silver, lies a small, dull brown coin. It's not flashy. It doesn't shine. But it's old. And it has a story. 1 cent 1980. South Africa. If you've seen it, you might have tossed it aside without a second thought. But what if that tiny coin, yes, that one, holds the kind of value that could turn your quiet retirement into a legacy worth talking about? Let's go back for a moment. The year is 1980. The world is shifting. Tensions, politics, breakthroughs in technology. But in the southern tip of Africa, something else is quietly being pressed into metal. A small copper-plated coin is minted, its design unchanged, yet somehow destined to become something greater. The South African 1 cent. A simple coin. No one would have guessed its future. This coin carried the portrait of Jan van Riebeeck, a name that echoes through South African history like a drumbeat. His image was printed on this humble denomination during a time when the country stood at a crossroads, politically, socially, and economically. That was more than just a piece of currency. It was a snapshot of an era. Now, imagine the number of these coins minted back then. Millions, poured into circulation, used for sweets, bus fares, forgotten in wallets. But out of all those coins, only a tiny fraction would survive the next 40 years in pristine condition, and even fewer would carry the secret that makes collectors' hearts race. An error, a variant, a minting difference so rare, it turns that coin into a golden ticket. Most people think coins gain value because they're old. But it's not just age. It's scarcity, rarity, a tiny change, a misprint, a flaw, the kinds of things most people never notice. A small difference in metal, a shift in alignment, a design that never made it to mass production but somehow escaped the mint. That's when a coin stops being just a coin. It becomes a legend. Now, let's talk about the kind of man who finds a coin like this. Maybe he's a collector, sure, but more often, he's just like you. A man who's lived a life, raised a family, worked with his hands, seen the world change around him. Maybe he's got a box of old coins from his father. Maybe he held on to them for no reason at all. Sentimental, forgotten, but still there. And when that man finds out what he's holding, that moment, that realization, that everything he thought was ordinary is, in fact, extraordinary. That's what makes these stories worth telling. You see, collectors today aren't just looking for perfect gold bars and shiny rare gems. They're chasing history. Real history, coins that tell stories of countries, leaders, and turning points in time. And the 1980 South African 1 cent does exactly that. A time capsule from a complex and powerful nation sitting in your palm. The right coin, in the right condition, in the hands of the right buyer, can command a price that sounds impossible. A price most people associate with luxury cars or beachfront homes. But it's not a dream. It's the reality of numismatics, the world of rare coin collecting. And for those who say it's just a coin, think about this. When gold was discovered in South Africa, people came from all over the world, not for the land, not for the culture, but for the promise of wealth beneath their feet. That hunger for something valuable, that search for something rare, still lives on today. Only now, it might not be in the soil. It might be in a shoebox under your bed. You don't need to be a professional to recognize potential. You just need a sharp eye, a little patience, and a willingness to look at what's already yours with new understanding. Because sometimes, the past gives us a second chance. A moment to rediscover something we overlooked. A coin that everyone ignored, except a few. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you checked your old coins? That drawer in the garage, that container in the attic, that dusty jar of change from a time before cell phones and the internet. It's all still there, waiting. You might be sitting on history without even knowing it. And here's the part you've been waiting for. Among all the South African coins minted in 1980, a few were struck in an exceptionally rare pattern, never released to the public. Those coins, if preserved in mint state condition, are not just rare, they're priceless to collectors. One of these coins, a 1981 cent from South Africa, recently made headlines across the numismatic world. It was authenticated, graded, and auctioned for a price that left jaws on the floor. $3 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single coin, 1 cent minted in 1980, sold for $3 million. So before you walk past that old jar of coins again, take another look. You never know what you might find. And if you do find that coin, remember, you're not just holding money. You're holding history, a legacy, and maybe, just maybe, your future.